Canada, maple syrup and like Captain say, ay, kick your ass all hockey season, ay, Mounties be riding horses, yeah, this is Canada.
Do you believe there's foreign interference happening right now from India in Canada?
Listen, it's not for me to have an opinion whether there is or not. There are people that are in charge of making sure that people are safe at home in every single circumstances. And these are our police forces, and these are our national security agencies. And they have to do their job, and I'm convinced they are. And when they have proof, then they can trial. And that's exactly how our system, which is based on the rule of law, works. And so when it comes to any form of vulnerabilities of foreign interference in our country, this was extremely studied by an entire public inquiry that lasted more than 6 months. And so I'm convinced that we're taking every single step to make sure that Canadians are safe, and at the same time that we can navigate geopolitics at a time of turmoil.
It's not my job to have an opinion. Hey, guys. Hey, it's not my job to have an opinion. That's Canadian politics. It's not her job as a minister to have an opinion on foreign interference. It doesn't matter if you're the minister of trade or industry. It's not your job to have an opinion. Really? I don't know what to say, guys. But today is Friday, March 6th. My name is Miloš Krajčnik. This is Canuck News. Have a pretty great article I want to cut in today. It kind of ties into what we've been speaking previously, but it's special and it's specific to everything because Mark Carney gave another speech in Australia. You guys probably saw it on mainstream media. He touted about middle power sovereignty again, and Canada, and how Canada and Australia are these critical mineral superpowers. And together, they're going to build this coalition that's going to rival the US in GDP, and it's going to outpace China in trade. And, you know, this big rhetoric, when the rules don't protect you anymore, you must protect yourself, right? It sounds so strong. We're band of brothers. That's really what he's making it sound like. But not one country he named in that coalition can actually act independently of the US. And we're going to go through it right now. Show you guys why. Here we go. A developing alliance between Canada and Australia on critical minerals, which together produce significant portions of the world's lithium and uranium, is the kind of coalition building middle powers should be undertaking in a fractured global order, Prime Minister Mark Carney says. His remarks from the latest chapter in Prime Minister's call to action for middle powers to work together in an era of great power bullying, because great powers were always so benevolent. They never cared about their own interests. That's exactly what it was. They never cared about their own interests. That's how all great powers need to look at it. Get out of here. I hate it when they do that. Great power bullying. Oh my gosh. The British Empire didn't bully anybody. The French Empire didn't bully anybody. The Roman Empire did. Nobody ever bullied anybody, right? The Japanese Empire. No, nobody bullied anybody. Great power bullying. Literally grow up. Bullying around tariffs. That's what they're calling bullying. Protectionist tariffs. It's embarrassing. It is actually embarrassing. And sorry for the digression, but it irritates me quite a bit. Speaking to Sydney's Lowy Institute think tank during a trade and goodwill mission to Australia, Mr. Carney expanded on his January address to the World Economic Forum in Davos, where he talked of a rupture in the rules-based international order and the way dominant powers such as the United States are weaponizing trade dependence to extract what they want from smaller countries through tools such as tariffs. This has been the norm in history forever. Any power that existed in the world ever did this. Like, this is not anything new. I've talked about this before, The US is trying to protect this market, and everybody's crying a river because they're not going to have access to the largest market on earth. That's normal. Like, if you love your own nation, that's what you do. The Japanese protected the Japanese car industry forever. It was so difficult to sell anything else other than a Japanese car in Japan. Why is that? because they want to protect their car industry. Anyways, the increasingly protectionist presidency of Donald Trump has imposed significant tariffs on the U.S.'s trade partners, with Mr. Trump threatening more levies when countries displease him. On Wednesday, he threatened to cut off all trade with Spain because it would not allow the U.S. military to use its bases for Washington's war on Iran. Consider Europe, Australia, Canada, Japan, and South Korea, Mr. Carney said. This coalition has a larger gross domestic product than the U.S., 3 times the trade flows of China, the largest research and development spending in the world, 62 of the top 100 universities, and is the largest source of cultural exports globally. He's literally just saying things, because look at the countries that he's naming as the foundation of this independent military power, or this middle power, coalition. Japan has 54,000 U.S. troops on its soil. South Korea has 28,000 U.S. troops and a nuclear threat like 50 kilometers from Seoul. Australia literally just signed AUKUS, which is a nuclear submarine deal with the US and the UK that defines their entire Pacific security architecture, guys. These are not independent military powers building some kind of sovereign coalition, guys. These are US security dependents who happen to have large economies. That's basically what's going on. And their independence exists only within the boundaries of this US security umbrella. And guys, and then you have this Spain just placed in the article. Oh, Trump threatened to cut off all trade with Spain because it would not allow the U.S. military to use its own bases. Guys, this is a reality check. If you host a foreign military base on your territory, you are not an ally making a free choice, guys. You are a protectorate. You are a military protectorate. Every country that has a military base, a foreign military base on their soil, is a military protectorate of the foreign power. And Spain is learning that right now, guys. That this has always been like this for always. Guys, the Roman Empire had outposts across the world. All of these peoples were protectorates of the Roman Empire. They had outposts everywhere. Every country in this coalition that Carney pointed out that hosts the U.S. military bases, they already know it. This coalition cannot act against U.S. interests, guys, because the U.S. security is the reason most of these countries actually feel safe enough to have this conversation in the first place. This is the whole premise of what Carney is saying is just absolutely ridiculous. Between them, Canada and Australia possess one of the largest critical mineral reserves in the world, the Prime Minister noted, producing 34% of global lithium, 32% of the uranium supply, and 41% of iron ore, all backed by a $25 billion war chest of fast-track projects. Ooh. Top 2 rankings as mining investment destinations in the world. Today, sovereignty requires reliable access to space-based communications and semiconductors, he said. It requires unhindered access to artificial intelligence, digital sovereignty, critical minerals, payment systems, clean energy technologies, and vaccines. He has literally just been saying a whole bunch of nonsense that is completely out of his control. Outside of critical minerals, none of the things Carney just listed are in his actual control. Nor does Australia possess any of those either. He's saying that sovereignty requires access to semiconductors and AI, guys. And he's right, sure. But let's ask the simple question. Where is this sovereignty? Where's this sovereign coalition going to get its microchips, its semiconductors? The world's most advanced semiconductors, guys, are made by TSMC in Taiwan, and that production is currently being reshored to the US because Washington understands that a single Chinese military move on Taiwan hands Beijing control over the world's most advanced chip supply in the world. Not only the most advanced chip supply, but basically all of the advanced microchips in the world, because besides US microchips, you have Chinese advanced microchips. And Taiwan is just off the coast of China. Guys, this is not hypothetical. This is literally why the US is spending hundreds of billions of dollars to move that production onto American soil. It's to protect the Western supply of semiconductors, guys. So this independent middle power coalition that requires semiconductors for sovereignty has 2 options. Either buy from the US as it completes its onshoring, its reshoring, or buy from China. Guys, there's no third option for advanced microchips today. Oh, and space-based communications. Who is Canada gonna get its space-based communications from? The U.S. is the most advanced right now space nation. The Europeans do a little bit of this and that. It's the U.S. again. Like, what are we talking about? Because Carney's sovereignty speech is his speech. It requires semiconductors. His coalition does not control a single fob. The most critical input for the digital sovereignty he is describing is owned by the exact powers this coalition is supposed to be independent from. You cannot build sovereignty AI infrastructure on someone else's chips and call it independence, guys. It's ridiculous. This whole this whole article is just ridiculous. So Canada and Australia cannot compel like the great powers, but we can convene, set the agenda, shape the rules, and organize and build capacity through coalitions to deliver results at speed and global scale. Mr. Carney said middle powers need to develop greater strategy autonomy in areas such as energy, food, and critical minerals so they can ensure they can feed, fuel, defend, and innovate without being held hostage to the demands of great powers. This means enhancing self-sufficiency and independence. When the rules no longer protect you, you must protect yourself. I'm going to stop here to deliberate, but I just like this last sentence is so stupid. Like, it's so ridiculous. Rules are developed for somebody to adhere to. That doesn't mean that you should rely on them to protect you. That is the most naive, ignorant thing that anybody can rely on. The only thing that can protect you is economic sovereignty, military sovereignty, and intelligence sovereignty. Those are the three things as a nation, if you're going to rank them in priority. Those are the three things that are going to protect you. Canada has none of them. We just don't. And now when the rules don't protect you, and so that rules-based order, those value systems that he keeps touting about is just the exploitation of the U.S. market that is now terrifying everybody because they're protecting it is the complaint. Oh, you can't put tariffs on us. Yeah, well, watch me. It's just amazing. When the rules no longer protect you, you must protect yourself, guys. Because this is his closing argument. He is so eloquent in his rhetoric. And it's such a strong line, but the problem is that nothing in this speech describes how, guys. Like, Carney's calling this a critical minerals alliance, but the article never defines what that alliance actually does. There's no pricing mechanism, there's no supply controls, there's no enforcement, there's no answer to what happens when a buyer goes to a non-allied supplier instead. A letter of intent between two mining countries is not an alliance. It is a starting point for future conversations, guys. Are they trying to build OPEC? You know what I mean? For critical minerals? But OPEC has 13 members and controls roughly 40% of global oil production. And it still struggles to hold prices when members cheat on quotas, guys. Canada and Australia together have 60 million people and a $25 billion war chest, guys. War chest. And lithium and uranium reserves, okay. But reserves are not leveraged until you control how they move, guys. Who buys them and at what prices? None of that is in this article because none of that has actually been decided. And just so you know, $25 billion is nothing. That's nothing. A highway in Canada costs $10 billion. What are we talking about here? Canada says this coalition can convene, set the agenda, and shape the rules, but convening is not protecting yourself, guys. Setting the agenda is not sovereignty. In two countries signing a letter of intent about minerals they have not yet built the infrastructure to move without a mechanism to actually control supply or pricing is not a coalition, guys. It is a press release between two countries that happen to like each other. And this is all it is. And this is why all of this matters to Canadians, guys, because Carney is right that Canada needs to think about sovereignty differently. The speech is not wrong about what sovereignty requires: semiconductors, critical minerals, energy, food, security, all of that. Yes, those are the right categories. The problem is the speech describes the destination without explaining how to get there, guys. And the coalition it proposes is built on countries that cannot act independently of the power they are supposedly building independence from, the US. So Canadians should really want this to be real, but wanting it and building it are two very different things. A speech in Australia is not sovereignty, guys. The hard work happens at home, and right now there are billion-dollar investment decisions on pause, waiting for Ottawa to figure out its own policies. And that gap between what Carney says abroad and what Carney actually does or Canada builds is the question Canadians need to be asking. And just to kind of give you a precursor to Monday's episode that I'm going to talk about, because this article really completely undermines everything that Carney's talking about, because Canadian Natural pauses $8.5 billion oil sands expansion, citing carbon policy uncertainty. So we can talk this big game internationally, but we can't define our own bureaucracy to help our own businesses grow. That's Canada. That's Canada, guys. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys liked today's episode. Please like, share, and subscribe. My name is Miloš Krajčnik. Stay informed, stay curious, and God bless Canada.